Welcome back to 5 Minute Drum Lessons, where we get it done in 5 minutes or less. On today's agenda, punk beats and other punkish ideas. So again, another question came in about punk grooves, do a little more on punk ideas, and so we're going to touch on that. It's going to be like a little bit of a crash course. And full disclaimer, I'm not a punk drummer, but I do think I can throw some ideas at you that might be interesting if that's the type of drumming that you're interested in doing. So the first thing is, there's a couple things about punk style stuff. One is the tempos tend to be pretty fast, and so a lot of the grooves are going to use quarter notes on the hi-hat instead of eighth notes. So a basic rock beat, you're playing eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and on the hi-hat. But for fast tempos, one technique is to switch to the quarter note. So instead of going 1 and 2 and, you're just going 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's automatically, you still keep the bass drum on 1 and 3, the snare drum on 2 and 4. So it looks like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. And by reducing the number of notes you're playing here, it's going to allow you to play a lot faster rather than having to go, which of course you can do. And if you're playing kind of punk style stuff, for sure you want to do that sometimes, where you're pushing when you're pushing your hi-hat or your ride or whatever. But you're also going to do a bunch of stuff where you're reducing the number of notes you're playing there to give the impression that you're playing, well, you are playing fast, but it just makes it a little more accessible. So from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's kind of your basic groove. And then I would start by exploring a bunch of different bass drum patterns, because the same way you can learn your basic rock beat and then vary your bass drum pattern, I'll do a few simple ones. So, or whatever, or you can vary your bass drum pattern in this context with the quarter notes. So that would be, oh sorry, I played an extra note, but instead of doing that with 8 notes on the hi-hat, same bass drum snare drum pattern, but quarter notes. So 1, 2, 3, and you just need to be aware of how the bass drum notes line up against the quarter notes on the hi-hat, because when you're playing eighth notes, if you have ands on the bass drum, it's still going to be with the hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But if you have quarter notes, 1, 2, 3 and 4, the ands are going to be by themselves. Right? And again, if you play this beat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, well, those and notes are going to be in between your hi-hat. 1 and 3 and. Okay, and then so you're going to want to work probably on bass drum doubles as well, because your doubles, so those two quick ones you do on the bass drum, if you're playing in like an eighth note context, they're 16th notes. But if you're playing a fast quarter note hi-hat, then the double is just at the eighth note speed, but you're playing fast, so it's basically a double. So you want to make sure you want to make sure that you've got two quick ones. And And so that's going to help a lot if you can do those doubles on the bass drum and mix them into your punk beats. And then you can sort of vary it up. So I would say, like, learn some quarter note hi-hat grooves, the same bass drum snare patterns that you know for eighth note beats. And just for the sake of making it kind of more punk style, we'll do both. We'll go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you switch to quarter notes. Get it? So at a slow tempo, that's cool, but at a fast tempo, you're basically playing doubles on you're going. And the second double is by itself in between the hi-hat notes. So having the double together is going to help make it sound kind of punk style. So, and then you kind of mix them together and try to create a phrase. So, you know, you can mix the beats together and try to come up with a phrase by just varying the bass drum and just keeping quarter notes here, 2 and 4 here. Another thing you can do, depending how fast it's going, like another kind of punk style thing you can do is just do hi-hat and bass drum on the beat and then snare drum. So you're just alternating like this, which slow is very, accessible. But again, the thing with this style of stuff is it's so fast, so you're gonna going, but just really fast, and it's kind of like you're doing a single stroke roll, but like that, and then adding the bass drum to every hi-hat, every right hand note on the hi-hat. And then if you kind of throw that in, you may not do that for the entire song, but that could be part of it. So that's kind of a little punk style idea. And if it's really fast too, you could just do bass drum on the beat and then hands together off the beat, which gives you a similar feel, but this is kind of on the beat hi-hat, and then kind of gives you the offbeat kind of feel there. And the same way I was talking about kind of doing the doubles on the bass drum, you can do that on the snare as well. So instead of just going 1, 2, you go 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and. So that can add a little extra activity on the snare. And then as far as fills are concerned, focus on single stroke roll, because I know, like, it's a heavy style. So if it's a heavy style and you want to play loud and fast and have like a consistent, machine gun like fills, use the single stroke roll. And I think there's room for doubles in the style for sure, but I think a lot of these players are using single stroke stuff because there's so much power behind it. So work on your single stroke roll, and if you're playing fills, use single stroke ideas. And that's going to sound really good too. So, accented 16ths can gonna sound really good. That sort of will get, if you're using single strokes, that'll help get your fills kind of feeling in the style. And that last thing, I'll show the last thing I did, and I'll leave you with that. So basically, it's a single stroke roll. I'm going 1 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So. Just a little idea to get you started. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. And I'm thinking in 16ths, but at that speed, again, if you're playing fast tempos with quarter notes on the hi-hat, a lot of those fills 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3. Yeah, I guess it's still 16ths, but yeah, use the single stroke roll, explore it, try to come up with cool fills, and yeah, it's kind of a little crash course in punk ideas. I hope it somewhat addresses your question. If it leaves you with more questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll try to address exactly what you're looking for in a little more detail. And yeah, I mean, that's it for now. Hope you got something out of the video. Thank you for joining me, and see you on the next one.